In 1999, Kevin Smith showed up to protest his own movie, despite getting death threats because of the film. Dogma turns 25 years old today, so here are some things I bet you never knew about it. The story behind Dogma starts on August 2nd, 1970, when future filmmaker Kevin Patrick Smith was born into a Catholic family in Red Bank, New Jersey. As he grew up, Smith was an average student in school, but developed a passion for filmmaking. In his early 20s, he attended the Vancouver Film School, and it was there that he came up with a movie called God. And he wrote the scene that introduces Rufus, the 13th apostle, who was eventually played by Chris Rock. In an essay about the film's origins, included on the movie's DVD, Kevin Smith wrote, "The seeds for Dogma were laid by 8 years of Catholic school and a lifetime of Sunday masses. The passion to tell the story came solely from my unbridled appreciation for God and my predilection toward dick and fart jokes." Smith continued that the movie was never meant to be blasphemous, but to honor faith in the Lord. After 4 months in film school, Smith dropped out to self-fund his first independent feature, Clerks. While making Clerks, Smith continued writing down ideas for God. He envisioned the main character being a high school jock, he further developed Rufus, and he came up with a muse named Serendipity. But he didn't know the story yet, just that he, quote, wanted to talk about the differences between religion and faith. Clerks would then become a sensation at the 1994 Sundance Film Festival. Miramax, run by the Weinsteins, bought it and kicked off Smith's movie career. And so after Clerks got distribution, Smith started writing the first draft of this biblical film. But he felt that calling it God might be inappropriate, so he retitled it Dogma. He finished the first 148-page draft in August 1994. In that draft, he changed the main character to a stripper named Bethany, who meets Jay and Silent Bob, two comedic relief characters from Clerks. In this version, Azriel, one of the film's antagonists, wasn't introduced until the last 30 pages. And Bethany blew up the church at the end as to keep Bartleby and Loki from passing through. In regards to that story beat, Kevin Smith said, "Imagine the shit I would have gotten from the Catholic League for that." Smith felt bullish about Dogma, obviously, because he added the line, "Jay and Silent Bob will return in Dogma," to the end of Clerks. But then he thought that Dogma might be too ambitious to be his second movie, so he put it on the back burner. And he went off to make Mallrats in 1995 instead. While making Mallrats, Smith further tweaked the Dogma script. He made Bethany an abortion clinic counselor rather than a stripper, and he had Jay and Silent Bob hanging out with an orangutan. As you might recall, Smith teased that primate at the end of Mallrats, but then in 1996 he took it out of the Dogma script. He'd later explained Jay and Silent Bob's adventures with the ape Suzanne in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Around that time, Smith also started writing Chasing Amy and decided to make that his next movie, once again with Miramax. In 1996, Ben Affleck, who had a minor role in Mallrats, agreed to be in both Chasing Amy and Dogma. Chasing Amy was released to critical and box office success in 1997, which gave Smith the confidence to finally make Dogma. The Weinsteins once again came on as producers, and Smith started casting the movie. Because of his higher profile, he was able to attract big actors for the film. He first offered Cardinal Glick to Albert Brooks, who turned it down, but then made the genius casting move to select George Carlin, who was a well-known atheist in real life. Jason Lee was originally attached to play Loki, but then got switched to Azriel due to scheduling conflicts. Matt Damon was then brought in thanks to his natural chemistry with Ben Affleck. Smith envisioned Samuel L. Jackson for Rufus, but after meeting Chris Rock, he knew he had to give it to him. Kevin Smith loved the X-Files, so he offered Bethany to Gillian Anderson, but she really hated the script. He then wanted Alanis Morissette to play the lead, but she couldn't do it because she was going on tour, so he cast Linda Fiorentino. Emma Thompson was originally attached to play God, but had to pull out when she got pregnant. So Smith offered Alanis the smaller role, later saying, "There's a Zen Buddhist serenity to Alanis that calls to mind something otherworldly. She's definitely ethereal in nature, even when not speaking, and she carries an air about her that played into the role." Landing Alan Rickman was a big deal, and Kevin Smith was excited to contrast his presence against Jason Mewes, but Smith warned Mewes he needed to get his shit together. Quote, "I really impressed upon him that he had to be prepared for this movie. There are real actors in this one," we kept telling him. In response, Jay memorized not only his own dialogue, but the entire screenplay because he didn't want to piss off that Rickman dude. Miramax gave the movie a $10 million budget, and Dogma went into production in March 1998. They shot one scene on the boardwalk in Asbury Park, New Jersey, but the rest was filmed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Mexican restaurant was the Franklin Inn in Franklin Park. The protagonists planned their final battle in the Grand Concourse restaurant in the Pittsburgh and Lake Erie Railroad Station, and the church at the end was the Saints Peter and Paul Church in East Liberty. George Carlin wears a Band-Aid on his finger finger throughout the movie to cover up his wedding ring. He had recently lost his wife and didn't want to take the ring off. All of the angels in the film are dressed alike, just in different colors, and they wear hoodies because the hoods are meant to represent their halos. And Ben Affleck accidentally cut himself for real on a prop knife in the gun shop scene. The movie wrapped production in June 1998 after 3 months. 2 scenes were cut during post-production, one where Silent Bob fights one of the triplets and the Golgothan in the hospital. Test audiences thought there was too much Golgothan, so it was cut for time. And then another in which the heroes get in a fight with a random gang at the strip club. That results in Jay and Silent Bob diffusing the situation by performing the theme song from Fat Albert on stage. The scene played at Cannes, but Smith cut it for length and because it wasn't funny enough. Oscar-winning Lord of the Rings composer Howard Shore did the film's music, which was recorded by the London Philharmonic. Miramax initially scheduled the film for release in November 1998, but then the Weinsteins got cold feet due to the religious nature of the movie. Miramax was owned by Disney at the time, and they feared that protests against the movie could hurt their corporate overlords, so they sold domestic distribution rights to Lionsgate while holding on to the international distribution rights. Dogma then premiered on May 21st, 1999 at the Cannes Film Festival, out of competition, and was given a November 12th, 1999 release date in the US. But that's when things got interesting. As word of the movie spread, it started to anger certain religious groups. The Catholic League denounced it as blasphemous. Kevin Smith received death threats, and some religious groups turned up to protest the movie outside theaters. One such protest in Eatontown, New Jersey, was supposed to attract hundreds of demonstrators. Only a handful showed up, but among them was Kevin Smith himself. That's right, he went to protest his own movie as a joke, and was even interviewed by the local news, who had no idea at first who he was. He told the news station, "I don't think Dogma stands for anything positive." So the movie comes out on November 12th, 1999 on 1,269 screens in the US. It opened to $8.7 million, falling to third place behind Pokemon the First Movie and The Bone Collector. It would go on to gross $44 million worldwide total, according to the numbers, making it the most successful View Askewniverse movie ever. That's Kevin Smith's interconnected movie universe. And it would be Lionsgate's most successful movie until The Hunger Games came along. $44 million isn't a ton, but it is more than 3 times the movie's budget. Critics mostly like Dogma. Today, 68% of the 130 reviews assessed by Rotten Tomatoes are positive. It was nominated for Best Screenplay at the Independent Spirit Awards, while Salma Hayek was nominated for a Razzie, and Alanis was nominated for Musicians Who Shouldn't Be Acting at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards. The movie would continue to grow in popularity on home video, but Linda Fiorentino and Kevin Smith didn't speak for years after the DVD release because he said quite carelessly on a DVD commentary track that Janine Garofalo should have been Bethany in the movie, which understandably pissed off Fiorentino. Smith later admitted that was, quote, a really shitty and stupid thing to say. Thoughtless, considering that Linda was the lead and Linda did a great job. After Smith's heart attack in 2018, they reconciled and he apologized to her. Matt Damon ended up reprising his role of Loki in Kevin Smith's 2019 Jay and Silent Bob reboot, in which he explained that God wiped his memory and banished him to the Mediterranean Sea, where he was picked up by fishermen, implying that Loki became Jason Bourne. But then, around this time, another strange thing happened to Dogma. It kind of disappeared. By the late 2010s and early 2020s, its DVD and Blu-ray went out of print, and the movie could not be found on streaming. The only way to see it was to buy the discs secondhand, and the Blu-ray was very expensive. This wasn't Kevin Smith's choice. The movie was under Harvey Weinstein's control. In 2017, Harvey Weinstein reached out to Kevin Smith about getting the movie back out there and potentially doing a sequel. Smith agreed to think about it, but then a week later, the Harvey Weinstein scandal broke, and Smith thinks, quote, it was him looking to see who was a friend still, because his life was about to shift completely. In 2020, Harvey was convicted of rape and sentenced to 23 years in prison, and was in need of money, so he tried to get his brother Bob to buy the Dogma rights out from him for $5 million, but Bob refused, saying it was just another Harvey con, and that the movie was likely worth $50,000, if that. In 2022, Kevin Smith revealed that he tried to buy the movie rights back himself, as long as the money didn't go to Harvey directly, but this offer was rejected by Weinstein's lawyer. Smith said at the time, "My movie about angels is owned by the devil himself." But then, earlier this year, Kevin Smith revealed that Dogma is free. A third-party company bought the film and will be partnering with Smith on a tour, theatrical re-release, and new home video versions. And Smith is now considering a sequel or maybe a TV series, something he was never able to do before.